Hey, it's Michelle Spiva, and I am so excited about being able to just have a conversation with you and talk with you. Today, I want to talk with you about, are you ready? 7 things that you currently do to guarantee you will never get what you really want. Yeah, I'll say it again. I'm going to talk to you about 7 things that you're currently doing right now to guarantee that you'll never really get what you think you want. All right, so let's just go on and get started. So, the reason why I'm doing this, the why, is because I have been able to interact with a lot of different people recently, and I'm seeing a common theme. And that theme is that people are really not getting what they want. I mean, they are intentioning it, they are thinking it, feeling it, trying to do it, and it's really not working for them. And so I decided, because, I am a coach, life coach, therapist, whatever you want to call it, to investigate, if you will, and look at some of the things and try to capsulate some of the stuff that would help the average person that wants to get things done. And when I'm talking about getting things done, of course, I am talking about those things that you would do in your business or goals you want to achieve and those types of things. What makes one person be able to do something as opposed to the other? Wanting to do it, working towards it, and it not happening. And so these are some of the things that I believe, based on interacting with people and observation and some research, that I think that if you take these to heart, look at them, you'll be amazed at what you find that you might be doing. All right. So let's just go on and get started. So the first thing is busy work. Yes, you know what busy work is, but do you really know when you are doing it? Uh, I've studied different types of productivity tools and built habits on certain different ones that are very simplified. And the one thing that I found is that when you have to sit and really think about what part of the work you do or what part of your actions really get you what you want, Paredes law is in full effect. Maybe 10 to 20% of what we really do gets us to that end point. Of course, it can be things as simple as too many distractions. In this age of social media, I'm going to tell you, it is really hard to stay focused and not be distracted, to the point of almost having to hurt people's feelings sometime and sequester yourself so that you can get things done. And then another one is really the old adage of not working smart and working really hard. It's hard to learn things and do the things that you like to do without having to put in a lot of work. But then there's a fine balance when you are making things more complicated than they need to be and going around the mulberry bush. And then, of course, this is another one, this herd mentality of the me too, always looking to see, well, what is the other person doing? Well, maybe even having a little bit of guilt about not doing it yourself. So that's the first one, busy work. And there is a simple antidote for that, and it's just to simplify. When I talk about simplifying, what I'm meaning is pick those few things that give you the most bang for your buck, that are the not the easiest, but the most clear-cut path. Maybe you can build a recipe for it, break it down into 3, 4s, and 5s to be able to say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5 to get it done and completed. Because I'm going to tell you something. When you're able to complete a task, something happens in our entire body that helps us to build confidence and courage, clarity, and to even be excited because we completed something. We're no longer looping, going over and over and over. We're no longer digging ourselves into a rut. So, being able to have a simplified approach, even if that means not doing multitasking and just doing one thing at a time. I mean, studies show that actually we really shouldn't be multitasking. We should be taking micro tasks, completely devoting to them and completing. All right, so let's go over that. The first one is busy work. And the antidote for that is to simply simplify. But not just to simplify to the point of being able to complete a task before you move on to the next one. All right. All right. So then the next one. Whew, this one, we all have it. And so, I'm not telling you anything that I'm not dealing with. And that is bad habits. Yes, bad habits. Now, I do want to say this, that the bad habits that I'm talking about are really not the obvious ones. You see, the problem is that bad habits can be sneaky. And if you're not aware of what you're doing, then that's what keeps you from really getting what you want. One of the first things that I encourage you to do is to become aware of when you are engaging in a habit that completely takes you away from getting what you really want. Well, how do you do that? Well, you start by looking at all the little things that you do that make you feel like you're doing a lot. Of course, you've heard some of the big examples like checking email, being on social media, all of that stuff. It's work, but sometimes it's actually play too. And I mean, you need a good balance of work and play, but you also need to understand that there is a process of a habit. Number one, there is a cue or a trigger. What triggers, awakens, or startles you into going through this habit? And then this middle part of the habit is called the routine. It's the process. It's what you do. So like if you are cued or triggered to be overwhelmed or startled or frustrated or whatever it may be when you're trying to do something that you really need to do, you might find that, I'm just going to check my email, or I'm going to get up, go get a snack, or I'm going to go talk to somebody, or I'm just going to watch a little TV, or whatever it is. That's the routine part of the bad habit. And then the third part is the reward. So what do you get from engaging in this routine when you're triggered? Usually it's something to make you feel better. It might be, okay, I'm not stressing or anything like that. Sometimes, do you know that sometimes a bad habit can be anything that keeps you from doing what you know you need to do because you're trying to avoid fear? I mean, that can even include taking a nap, going to sleep. A lot of times people know that there are things they need to do. They don't do them. They'll go take a nap. And then it just keeps on perpetuating and perpetuating, so that every time you hit a trigger where you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, bored, those types of things, you get sleepy. That's a bad habit. All right. So the one thing I do want to say is be mindful of this, because there are a lot of people that have bad habits of starting stuff and never finishing it. Doing things simply for external praise instead of doing things that are your passion and that are driving you to be the example of the best you can be. Those are examples. So I've said enough about bad habits, and we got to get on, because I've got 5 more of these that I really want to talk to you about, and I don't want to keep you long. All right. So what's the antidote for that? The antidote for that, like I said before, is to identify when you are triggered or cued and what that specific routine is. Now, simply put, what you'll do is you can keep the trigger and you can even keep the reward of feeling better, but change the routine. So instead of taking the nap, maybe get up and time yourself for 2 minutes. March in place. Get the blood pumping and releasing of the hormones that will help lighten the load. And sit it on back down. Get back to what you're doing. All right. So number 2, again, is bad habits. And the remedy for that is to identify those bad habits and then mitigate or lessen the routine that you've been doing to get you the reward of feeling better. All right. So the next one. This one is something that hits us all, and it takes time and it takes work. And I'm just going to be honest about that. And that is, number 3 is having faulty perceptions and perspectives. Well, what do I mean by that? What I mean, when you have a faulty perception, that means that you have some stinking thinking. And it also is an indicator that you're not doing the maintenance that you should be doing to clear your mind of the cobwebs and the troubles and the worries and sorrows that you've had. I mean, every day you go through things, you interact with people, situations. You have your thoughts and your feelings, your hopes, your dreams, and all of these things are all jumbled up in there. And when you don't take the time to release them, whether it be through meditation, prayer, laughter, interacting with people you like, engaging in mental stimulation. Maybe you listen to brainwave isochronic or binaural beats, any of those types of things to help you. Even therapy, talking it out, running it out, whatever you want to do, but making sure that you have a maintenance and stay up to date with being in touch with what really is going on. And the reason why I say that is because when you do that, you lessen all of these different weird filters that you may not even be aware of that prevent you from believing and thinking through to be able to be clear enough to go through what you need to go through to get what you need to have. Whether that is developing some type of plan, being able to sustain a mental picture of what you want, or even being able to keep down the self-talk or self-doubt, perception is a big deal. Okay, now the other side of that is perspective. And what this means is that when you have faulty perspective, you're narrow-minded. You think that your way is the right way. You have a lot of sacred cows that you are unwilling to tip over to see if there's something new. When you have a faulty perception, that means that you're not expanding your views. You're not willing to orientate or move yourself to look at things in a different way. I have a saying that goes like this, and it is, there is nothing new under the sun. It's only the way you shine the light on it that makes it different. And that's what perspective is, being able to get a different view. If you're looking at it from straight on, look at it from the side or behind or above or below, but look at it differently. Expand this. And the way you do this is by entertaining and respecting other people's viewpoints, walking a mile in someone else's shoes. That's another way to do this. So what's the antidote for that? Well, the antidote for having faulty perception and faulty perspective is to have updated beliefs and to always seek for clarity. I'll say that again. The antidote for faulty perception, stinking thinking, and faulty perspective is to have updated beliefs, or continuously, that's what I'd like to say better, continuously updated beliefs and clarity. All right, well, let's repeat that one. So the first one we had was busy work. The second one was bad habits. And the third one was having faulty perspective and perception. All right, so number 4. All right, that one is going to be where you trust in tools over skills. In our society, we have a lot that's coming at us, and tools are necessary. But I will tell you this. If you put your trust in just the tool without having a basic knowledge, the foundations of what that tool is to help you do, when that tool breaks, you're in trouble. Have you ever had a situation where a tool that you relied on heavily broke and you didn't have a workaround? You didn't have another way, a plan B or whatever it was to be able to get done what you needed to get done? Sure, it may have taken you longer, but you just didn't even know what that plan was. That's a good indicator that you're relying on tools more than skills. Now, I'm going to just say this. Those who have skills are always going to master over those who only have tools, because the skillful people make the tools. You know, being able to get what you want is not just about being as fast as possible. Sometimes it is about the journey of the experience of the learning of what you need to be, to become, to have what you want. Whether it's business or personal, sometimes a lot of people are never going to get what they want because they are not the people they need to be able to handle what they want. AKA, they've not developed the skills. Whether those skills are emotional, whether they are intellectual or physical. baby, you gotta do the work. And I'm gonna tell you this little thing and I want to move on. But skills are learning. Education is the gathering of facts, and yes, you need that. But when you really learn something, that means you have become skillful at it. So just keep that one in mind. All right, so what's the antidote for skills? That is to engage in consistent learning, to always be putting your education into action. It's not enough to just gorge yourself on facts and knowledge. You need to be putting it into action, aka becoming skillfully mastered at it. All right? A side note, there's a great book called Learn Anything in the First 20 Hours by Josh Kaufman. I think I totally mutilated the name of it, but it has the first 20 hours in it. And he talks about these very things, that if you want to become proficient in something, it's not going to take you 10,000 hours like Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers talks about. That's for mastery. If you want to become proficient, you do that in the first 20 hours. And then after that, you can continue to grow and become masterful. So just know that it's not going to take you forever, but you do have to be committed and straightforward. All right, so the antidote, again, for trusting tools more than skills is learning. Learning in action, which is developing a skill. All right. So let's go through those again. Number 1 was bad habits. Busy work. Number 2 was bad habits. Number 3 was having faulty perception and perspective. And number 4 was actually trusting in trusting in tools more than skills. Sorry about that. All right. Number 5, we're coming around the bend. And this one is focusing on goals instead of experiences. Yeah. We've been taught, have goals. And you should have goals. But do you realize that goals are nothing more than tools to get you to the experiences you want? So for instance, money can be a goal, but it is simply a tool to get you the experience of happiness, prosperity, and health that you really want. You see the difference? So if you find yourself having the urge to always want to have this goal of, I want this specific, static, one point in time goal, and that's what I'm working towards, you're setting yourself up to never get what you really want because you haven't identified what's the experience behind that you really want. And with that being said, the antidote for focusing on goals instead of the experiences that you really want is to have priority. What is most important to you? What gets you up in the morning? What is your bliss factor, your happiness point, your joy and peace? Those are the things that you're really wanting. And goals get them for you. But you're going to learn that as you're using these pursuit of goals along the way, you're actually having these experiences. And the goal is to prolong the experience as long as you can. So you've heard it in so many different ways. To enjoy the journey and not just the finish line. Do that. All right. So number 5 was focusing on goals instead of experiences. All right, let's move on to number 6. So number 6. Now, listen to me carefully here, you guys. And I'm so thankful that you are taking the time to actually listen to this, because this, I believe, is going to really help you. And that is making too many choices instead of a few good decisions. I'm going to say that one again. Number 6 is making too many choices instead of a few good decisions. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that choices are options that lead to more options. So what ends up happening is your orientation of trying to move in a direction of what you want, you start moving in circles and erratic patterns, because choices don't really cause you to make a stand in the sand, draw the line, if you will, and say, this is it. You know, it's kind of like fallback. I won't do that one. I'll do this one. Have you ever found yourself where you wanted to get something done, and instead of making a decision on a few things or even one thing, You tried all these different things, and then you came back and realized that, oh my gosh, I spent all this time when I should have just decided and stuck to one thing. That's what I'm talking about when you have too many choices. Another example, going into a store and being inundated with choices. The body can't handle it, and you shut down, probably get sleepy, or want to just flee because it's too many. So instead of that, when you find that there's something that you want to do, take the time to go back to number one and use the antidote of that to simplify. Get some kind of strategic approach where you can narrow it down to one or maybe two decisions and stick to them. Why? Because decisions have direction. Do you realize that they have found out that the body, yes, the body reacts when the body knows that you're going to make a decision before the brain does, because the body is getting you prepared to what? Move. All right. That's how powerful decisions are. They affect us in our body. So number 6 is making too many decisions instead of a few. Too many choices. Instead of a few decisions. So the antidote to that is to systematize. Get some type of system, ritual, or even routine of how you approach things that you know you want to get done, and narrow them down to the least common denominator of what you need to do so that you don't get confused. You don't have too many options, and you don't start looping and trying all these different things and not moving forward. All right. So number 7, we are here. Number 7 is feeding self-doubt. Now, with that one, what I've observed is that when you feed self-doubt, you're kind of like setting yourself up to always become fearful. Another way of saying it is to have or build a fear addiction, meaning that you either consciously or unconsciously put yourself in predicaments where you're always going to have to be fearful because that's what becomes common and known to you. Have you ever had it where you're like, why is it just so hard? Why is it so scary to do any of the things that I want to do? Well, it might be because in feeding your self-doubt, whether it be mind chatter or whether it be making things too hard when they don't need to be, you are doing this because of all the other things that I even talked about. Talked about bad habits, busy work, having too many choices, not cleaning out your mental clutter so that you can be focused and sharp and have the right perspective and perception, all of these things. And that culminates in having self-doubt. Well, of course, the antidote for self-doubt is to have confidence. Now, you can build confidence or you can jump into confidence. And a factor of that is action. If you want to build confidence, take action. And that goes back to the very first one when we talked about busy work, of just simplifying enough to do one thing to get it complete. Do you know, as you complete tasks, your confidence builds, but you got to do them first, action, in order to get them completed. All right, so there you have them. Those are the 7 things that you are doing to guarantee you'll never get what you want. You have busy work, bad habits, faulty perceptions and perspectives, focusing on goals instead of experiences, having too many choices instead of a few good decisions, and feeding self-doubt. My name is Michelle Spiva, and I am so glad that you stopped by. And I'm going to put some links at the bottom so that you can, if you want to get more information about this, you certainly can. And thank you so much. Leave comments and questions, and I will be seeing you soon. Thank you so much for your time. All right, bye.